Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Welcome to tonight's live. It's Friday. We made it through another work week, and you made it to the weekend. If you're new to the channel, hi, hello. My name is Tanya. It's nice to meet you. You can call me Tanya or TitaniumBuilt. And welcome back to all the subscribers that are coming back to join us for another video. Glad to see you guys all here. So we're going to talk a new case / older case tonight that we were covering on the channel, and yeah, we'll see where we go. I just wanted to get us more familiarized with it anyway. So we'll see who's in. We'll let people kind of come in, fill in the chat and all that good stuff. And maybe I should put my desk down just a little bit more. So we've got Mary Beth in here. We got Cheryl's in here. Hey, Groovy Nikki. Hey, Ladybug. How are you guys doing tonight? Hey, Catherine. Welcome in. It's good to see you guys. Hot weather. I'm not a big fan. It was pretty hot here today. Hey, Panda Ann. Welcome in. Lenora. I promise, I feel like the names, I go too fast and then I miss them. But welcome in, everybody. Hey, Tony. West Virginia Holler Girl. Citizen Sleuth. Welcome in, everyone. Chosen's in here. We got Stephanie, her baby mom. Good to see you guys. So we're going to do, like I said, a newer case, older case. It happened last year, but it has not come to its conclusion yet. So, and they finally sent me the FOIA after months of waiting on it. I waited on this thing to come back for how long did we wait? It was I just got it, I would say a week or so ago. And I put it in on April Fool's Day. Well, fooled me. Got me. You got me. Because they said they had to redact it. That's why they couldn't they give it to me right away. They had to take them back and redact them, then put them back out. I don't know. So that's where we're at. So now we have we have a part of the version, we have the redacted part. Some of the names are redacted and some of the addresses, that's fine. Because then I don't have to redact those things. But we're going to go over we'll go over the whole case log and everything as we go through the lives over this case. We're going to do, a few different ones because there's a lot of different discovery. There's 1,162 pages of their affidavit that they put out. They put out everything at once and it was crazy. So we're going to go over the timeline and what we kind of know about what's going on. And then that way, you have a little bit of an understanding what we're doing here, what this case is about. And then we'll go on to Nancy Grace because she put out another episode on this. Now, she did put out a previous episode on this case as well. And if you don't know, Preston Lord, actually, let me put his picture up here. Let's put his picture. There we go. Preston Lord, this young man here, 16 years old, went to a party, a Halloween party on the 28th of October and was brutally assaulted by 7 other kids. And he succumbed to his injuries. He ended up dying, I believe 2 days after he was admitted into the hospital. So they, for the longest time, they didn't have any suspects in mind. They were hearing rumors, so they thought they kind of knew who it was. One of the guys had been shipped to the family's vacation home, ski lodge, resort home or whatever for an extended period of time because they were trying to get his injuries to heal. There's a lot of really, really funky things that are going on with this case. And we do actually have an update in this case. We have not just this part of the case, but so since these are kids that are involved in this, they're 17, 18, 16, 17, 18 on the cusp of that. Preston Lord's family wants answers and they deserve it. And they deserve more justice, in my opinion. The parents' house that they were at, they had to be at someone's house doing all this, those people there. So what Preston's family is doing is going and they are civil suing them, for civil liability. So that way they can get some sort of retribution out of them, even if it's just monetary gain. Because, when you have to give some of your money to somebody, that makes you think of that person too. So that's what I always think of, that whenever it comes to monetary, having to get monetary gain instead of, the truth sometimes, or a punishment, in this case. Let me pull this up though. And this is going to help us all get to be more familiar. So what to know about the people arrested in Preston Lord's death and what happens next. And I was going to put those little fools on the cover today, and I didn't. Let me see. I'm going to pull up. Like this is a sad day. It's a sad day when these are the defendants. These kids they're kids. They're kids. They're kids. They're kids. I mean, there's no other way around it. Like, bro with the cornrows in the middle, you can't look hard enough at that camera, bro. They're going to get you in there. They're going to eat you up alive. And then the one beside him in the yellow, he's the one that's been running, Oh, man. Maybe with Noah Pressgrove, Tammy. Oh, and someone was asking me about the Rust verdict. I could not believe that. Well, I could, but then I couldn't. What money will get you, I mean, he we're talking about the Rust shooting really quick, but he runs out of court yesterday, like boo-hooing. And then all of a sudden today they're dismissing it. I'm like, what? What are they doing? So yeah, it's just very weird. I'm kind of like sad that we didn't cover it, and then I'm kind of glad now that we didn't cover it, because I would have been knee deep in his old like acting videos or something, and I'd have been mad. I wasted that much time. But these are the suspects, and their names are Talon Vigil, Taylor Sherman, Preston Bailey, William Hines, Jacob Meissner, Talon Renner, and Dominic Turner. So it took all of these boys, right? Just think about that. Big tough group, right? Might be part of a local gang. Might be part of a, part of a gang. Little gang in the neighborhood that do this to teenagers. So those, to take out this young man right here. Now that ain't a fair fight. If I was his parents, I'd be livid, especially if I was his daddy. You know what I mean? Like, your dad teaches you how to fight when you're a kid. Like, I feel like boys, they teach their boys how to fight. Like, dads usually try to teach them how, take up for yourself. He had no chance. 1-on-7. Can you believe that? Man, I couldn't even imagine that. I couldn't even imagine that a little bit. I remember when I was his age, was the first time I got in my first little fight. And it was my only little fight. And this is how it turned out. Me yelling at someone. Well, she yelled at me first, and then I yelled at her. And we just yelled. And then I went to meet her. I was like, I'm going to meet you. I got there. And then she had like 4 other girls with her. And I was like, no, this is not a fair fight. So we never ended up fighting. I was like, that was most of my fighting career. That's, and my dad taught me like, how to throw a good punch and stuff, but I just never was a fighter. Now that's what how it should have been, 1-on-1. And to think all of this started to also because of a boy's necklace, pretty much. One of the suspects didn't like it that he was filmed, from what I'm gathering from the documents, and because of like a $10 junk fake white gold necklace. Oh Lordy. We'll listen to this, and then I'll read the article for you guys. This is going to be the DA
being beaten to death.
And they're not taking this case lightly. Really
not. Horrendous. And I can't imagine, number one, going through that. Number two, being his family members and being aware that that's what happened. From reviewing the case, you had a very, very large party with a lot of kids there. And so you have the group that was with Preston, and of course, then you had the other group. And for whatever reason, there was a decision made to attack Preston.
When you say for whatever reason, is it as random as that?
Well, I don't know that it's random, but I just don't know that the motive is clear what it was.
When we talked to Police Chief Bryce, he talked to us about knowing the motive. The detectives know the motive. It was alluded to that it might have been over a girl.
I've heard different speculation about the motive. Obviously, my focus has not been so much the motive, but proving the acts themselves. But I've heard different theories about what the motive might be. But
the two prevailing seem to be this: there was a girl, but also that one of the attackers, Renner, wanted to make his bones, wanted to be, this was some sort of initiation.
There's all sorts of theories that I've heard.
What's up with the robbery? What did they steal?
Oh, the robbery has to do with one of the individuals that was with Preston Lord that night, and he had a chain with a medallion on it that was
I guess that's something
taken from him.
Taken during the fight or taken as a trophy?
I that would be speculating on the motive, but
I'm gonna say they took it during the act because they found remnants of the necklace at the scene, like a broken gold necklace. We had heard that. I told you guys that on the last live, actually. But yeah, all of these kids did this over a necklace. We've been told a necklace. It could have been over a girl, which I haven't heard anything about the girl. Like, I haven't heard anything about that at all. And I've only heard the necklace and that one of the boys didn't want his buddy being filmed because his buddy had brass knuckles on. And those are, of course, illegal.
But
none of these were Preston. None of
these
were just people with Preston.
Person participating.
Did you find the chain during a search afterwards?
That I would have to find out about. I'm not sure.
Talk to me about.
I know more about the DA.
What do you know how the attack unfolded?
Yeah, more than she does.
Yes, and understand.
Move over with the Starbucks lady and let me squeeze in with my soda pops. I got this.
And that you're looking at.
For some reason, I don't know why. There's when I'm listening to this, I'm picturing what's her name? Kathy Mabbitt, the Latah County, like the lady that did not the autopsies. She didn't do autopsies, but she did. She was the one that collected the bodies in the Idaho 4. That Kathy Mabbitt. I don't know why. Like, she's telling information she doesn't know, and she's not telling us information she knows.
Effort. And so when you're looking at, for example, the kidnapping charge, I think a lot of people envision kidnapping to be something where somebody is taken and
they can be.
But in Arizona, it involves restricting a person's movements. If you're participating in that, you're participating in the overall offense. And I don't want to get into a lot of details about who actually did the hands-on and who did that, the blocking of the access to leave. This was a group effort to both confine and to beat Preston. The 6 people that we have been arrested or served is charged with first-degree murder. Now, there's 2 ways to commit first-degree murder. One is a premeditated intent to kill. That's not the theory under which they are charged. They are charged under the other theory, which is during the commission of a certain list of felonies, a death occurs. And so that's felony murder. and there has to be an underlying felony, that is the kidnapping. So
Oh,
everybody's
thank
charged with
you.
first-degree murder. And then in the alternative, they are charged with second-degree murder, which doesn't require premeditation, but it involves an extreme indifference to human life.
Or they could, in fact, be charged with first and second degree murder.
It's an and/or.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you have these aggravating circumstances, that gives you the option of making it a death penalty charge.
Anytime
Hey, W.
somebody who
Hey, y'all.
is charged with first-degree
Welcome
murder, who
in.
was 18 or older at the
Hey,
time,
baby girl.
of the commission of the
Stand
murder,
up.
is eligible to be considered for the death penalty. Obviously, in Arizona, you
Just like baby girl said, yeah, stand up for if you see something wrong, say something. Because I'm just gonna slide this story out really quick before I forget. The other day, okay, so I don't know if I made the right decision in this. I don't know. Could have messed up some kids, summer for the year, but it had to be done. I told you guys the story about the little boys at the pool. They to be at our pool, you have to live here, or you have to be, if you live here, you have to be 16 or older. Well, these kids were not. They were 14, and I forget, one was 13, and someone ended up going up and getting the apartment complex people, apartment people telling them, because they were splashing people. They were just wreaking havoc, screaming. I mean, just unnecessary. And so when they went to leave, the mom or the management came down and said something to the kids, they had to go, and they got out of the pool and they were going. Well, they kept screaming out expletives to these people, and it was two women, and then an older guy and his wife, and they were screaming out the F word, FAGG, word, and I was in shock. I was literally in shock that I was listening to that, in 2024, right? And so I'm like, okay, and I'm taking out my earphone. Am I listening to this? So they leave. Well, lo and freaking behold, I go to the pool yesterday, and the little shits come back. They come one at a time, and they're all looking around. When they're in the pool, someone is up above, one of the management people. They come up on the balcony because they're showing an apartment. This kid's is that them? Is that them? They're trying to be all sneaky. They're still splashing people. There's people that are leaving the pool. One lady couldn't read her book. Finally was I've had enough. I'm going to go up there and I'm going to say something. So I just ended up emailing, and I came home and I was just you guys can deal with that mess, because I'm not dealing with them. But I feel like these kids are oh, I'm whoa, you need to be going home to your mama. Right now, right now. Because that's crazy. For you, I just put in the email, they know who I am. They know me. We've lived here for a very long time, 7 years, 8 years. We're in it we're in it for the long haul. So they're too young to be at the pool anyway. And then for them to be just over the board and just being disrespectful. I understand cussing a little bit when you're a kid and you think it's cute and funny, but these kids were doing it to be disrespectful. These women were together. They live across from me. They are together, and they didn't need to be hearing those words. Neither did that older couple. Neither did I. But you know what I mean. I was just oh Lord, have mercy. So I don't. Yeah. So if you see something, say something. Because I said something. I was I'm gonna say something. And I usually don't. But last time that happened, I got hit with the freaking beach ball. That was last summer.
you have to have
That was pretty funny though.
a statutory aggravating factor, and that can be
They
a number
don't,
of things,
apparently not.
including that the offense was committed in a cruel, heinous, or depraved way. So it will be reviewed by a senior group of attorneys, and a thorough summary will be written for me. A recommendation will be made to me, but the final decision is solely mine.
Of the 3 juveniles, what?
It's harder to do it, I bet, at this age too, at 16.
They're off the table for the capital.
It's easier for me to do it now that I'm older.
Not eligible, yes.
So right. What can they face?
Well, they can face life in prison.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine what it would be like to send your kid out to a Halloween party and have him not come back. So I get that. That's why it's so important to me that they understand how hard we're fighting for them.
Okay, dokie. Let me just move over here. Okay. I thought she was going to give us a little more, but apparently she knew less than what I knew. So just take that with a grain of salt. I mean, she did say things are true, but I think I did know a little bit more than her. I don't know what it is. I haven't been around kids in a long time. Not even my nieces or nephews, because if they acted like that, I'd smack the crap out of them too. But kids, what is it? There's just no moral like high ground here no more. I mean, everyone's just saying whatever they want to say. Is that how we're doing things nowadays? I thought we were supposed to be keeping stuff in. I thought we were supposed to be, like Uncle Ben's the rice. We took the uncle off of the Uncle Ben's. What was it? One of the football teams, they changed their name. I thought we were supposed to be like going towards just being quiet and just shutting it up. But apparently not. I guess everyone's just letting it out. Well, I haven't been out in the public then very often, that much, and then since 2020, since before 2020, I've been hiding out. Yeah, so I'm wondering, well, no, these guys can be, so these teams right here are charged with first and second degree kidnapping, and some of them are also charged with robbery because of the necklace. She must not have known that was the robbery charge, but because I mean, obviously, she's the one that puts the charges in. she didn't really give us any like info really. So 3 juveniles and 4 adults, and when they mean like 4 adults, they mean like over 18, were taken into custody to face murder and kidnapping charges on the fatal beating death of 16-year-old Preston Lord. Arrest came in the hours and days after Maricopa County grand jury handed up indictments on March 6th. Queen Creek police, who led the homicide investigation, executed arrest warrants in dramatic fashion, raiding suburban neighborhoods and armored vehicles and blasting orders on loudspeakers for occupants to come out of the houses as helicopters hovered overhead. At least 2 of the people indicted were not at home and later turned themselves in. Within 48 hours, all 7 suspects had appeared before a judge and were ordered held on $1 million. Wow. That means they mean business. Or guess what? It could mean, and it does mean, their families got money. These families got some money. $1 million for these fools. Look at this guy. Look at this guy with his little feathered hair, second to the right. You know what I mean? Like, look at those feather locks. He has nicer hair than I do. They're not going to do well in prison. I hope they can listen to this, but they can't. Queen Creek police, who led the homicide investigation, executed arrest warrants. I just read that. Sorry. At least I read that too. Those charged were Preston Billy, 18, William Owen Hines, 18, Jacob Masner, 17, Talon Renner, 17, Taylor Sherman, 19, Dominic Turner, 20, and Talon Vigil, 17. That old Dominic's going to bet he didn't hang out with high schoolers hearing about already probably about 6 months ago, huh, bud? And they might be part of the gang called what were they called? No, I think it's Gilbert Goons. Yeah, we'll see. All were charged with first-degree murder, second-degree murder, and kidnapping. Billy Meisner and Turner were also charged with aggravated robbery. Their arrest came a little more than 4 months after Lord was beaten in a gang-style attack. His killing shook the Southeast Valley and brought to light a string of attacks by teens that persisted for more than a year. Let me see something. Hold on. Never mind. I was thinking something else. Okay. I had to think about it for a minute. Was Preston Lord fatally beaten over a $10 necklace? Prosecutors say the theft of cheap necklaces from one of Lord's friends set in motion events that led to the 16-year-old's fatal beating during the 28th Halloween party in Queen Creek. And this was in like an upscale place, like upscale housing development. It was a really nice area, very nice home, very nice home. They say his attackers snatched the necklace, and when Lord and his friends attempted to get it back, a confrontation erupted. Then Lord and his friends ran away. His attackers gave chase, caught Lord, and in the matter of seconds beat him and left him lying on the side of the street, prosecutors say. And they do all kinds of stuff while he's unconscious. These guys do. They're utterly disgusting individuals, and I there's no other word for these people. I hope that these kids get locked up for the rest of their life. I really do, because Preston didn't get one. It says Queens Creek Police Chief Randy Bryce said the attack lasted seconds and was not stationary. He described the beating as unfolding as Lord moved through throngs of teenage partygoers. Lord was a popular student at Combs High School in nearby Santan Valley. He served on the student council and played basketball, football, and golf. He was among hundreds of teenagers who descended on the Halloween party after word of the gathering spread via social media. So yeah, and I remember the dad at the party of the home saying, like, at one part of the night, he noticed, he was like, okay, there's more than 20 kids here, and there was like 200 at that point, and that's when he started kicking people out. But it was like a little too late. You had all those kids there, and then you're pushing them all out at the same time. I feel like as a parent, you would know that would cause trouble. You got kids that are drinking, being pushed out into their car just to leave. At the same time, they're 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I mean, I'm surprised more didn't happen than what just happened. At 9 p.m. on the 28th, police responded to the area of 194th Street and Via Del Oro and Queen Creek for a juvenile disturbance. When police arrived, they found multiple teenagers walking up and down the street, seemingly leaving a residence where they had gathered. There were conflicting accounts of what happened next. Some witnesses told the Arizona Republic that party was out of control. Bryce said officers did not observe a party when they arrived and did not notice any illegal activity. Officers left after they were sent to a high priority call about a crime in progress elsewhere. Crime in progress. And I guess the crime in progress was like a DV. But how did you guys not notice the party? The party was like in full swing at this point. I mean, what time is it? 9 o'clock? So just after 9. And then this incident happens before 10. So it's kind of like, you didn't see a party? You didn't see anything like that, you know? Didn't see any of that? Let's see. At 9:49 p.m., police received a 911 call about an assault in the same neighborhood of houses from an early call. When they arrived, they found Lord lying in the roadway. So at about 9 o'clock, they're in the neighborhood. They're right there. And then they leave because they're like, okay, nothing to see here. We got an important phone call. This is just like some kids or something. We're going to go do that high priority call because it was a domestic violence, I believe, incident. But by 9:49, Preston's on the floor, on the ground, assaulted, not breathing. So it's just crazy. When they arrived, they found Lord lying in the roadway. He later died. 2 days later, he died on October 30th of traumatic brain injuries. On December 28th, the 2-month anniversary of Lord's beating, Queen Creek police referred charges against 7 people to the Maricopa County Attorney's Office for prosecution. And this is where they're going to talk about the Gilbert Goons. This is the gang that they were supposedly a part of. Some of the people charged in Lord's attack have ties to the gang known as the Gilbert Goons. For more than a year, goons have carried out assaults on teenagers in the Southeast Valley. And we've looked over, like on a previous live, videos of them actually doing it because they would videotape it a lot of times. People are they're not the smartest, are they? When they record themselves actually doing it. And not being like, I mean, even trying to be like covered or anything, or just, oh, come on, people. On December 14th, investigation by the Republic detailed how Lord's death was tied to the goons who recorded their blitz-style attacks in parks, parking garages, outside fast food restaurants, and at house parties. Most of the attacks occurred in Gilbert and went unchecked by police there for more than a year. Other goon attacks were recorded in Mesa, Chandler, and Pinal County. There was no evidence yet that any attack occurred in Queen Creek before the one on Lord. At least 2 of Lord's alleged attackers, Hines and Messner, were arrested by police in January and are facing charges in attacks in Gilbert and Mesa tied to the goons. Let's see if I can. See if I can find a picture here. Here we go. So they said, I always forget which 2. Hines and Messner. So William Hines and Jacob Messner, these 2 here, dumbasses. They were arrested by police in January and they're facing charges and attacks in Gilbert and Mesa tied to the goons. Both were already detained when they were charged in Lord's case. So they weren't, nothing new to them. They were already in jail. Wonderful. Beautiful. Putting themselves back there, back behind the bars themselves. Not very, these kids are so young. So it says, what do we know about the suspects? I guess I could keep that picture up. That way, you guys couldn't see that while I'm reading. So Preston Billy, 18, the Perry High School graduate, turned himself in to the police on March 7th. He is charged with robbery in connection with the necklace, which prosecutors say was taken from a friend of Lord's. William Owen Hines, 18, Gilbert police arrested Hines in January and accused him of being involved in a goon attack on a teen at a Gilbert house party in November 2022. Police have accused him of taking part in another goon attack on a teen at a Gilbert In-N-Out Burger in December 2022. Prosecutors accused him of attempting to destroy evidence after the attack. Wow. Jacob Meissner, he was served with an arrest warrant in the Lord case on March 7th. He was served in a detention facility where he is being held on suspicion of attacks tied to the goons. He was accused of robbery in Lord's attack. Gilbert police arrested Meissner on suspicion of involvement in the attack at the Gilbert house party in November 2022, which also led to Hines' arrest. Mesa police arrested Meissner in January in connection with an attack on a juvenile at a Mesa park in May 2023. He was charged as a juvenile in both the house party and the park beatings. A judge ordered him held without bail. Meissner has been identified in other videos of goon attacks. So he has no bail. Talon Renner. Renner turned himself into police on March 6th. His home was among those targeted in a dramatic November 6th search in the gated Gilbert community of White Wing. He was He was for months been targeted by community activists who have accused him of being part of the attack on Lord. His brother, Kyler Renner, 18, was arrested in January on suspicion of 2 gang attacks in Gilbert. Those included an attack at a Gilbert parking garage in December 2022 and the November 2022 Gilbert house party in which Hines and Meisner also have been arrested. Kyler Renner was arrested in January on rug charges. Their father, because he's just as good, Travis Renner, 50, was arrested the same day as Kyler Renner on suspicion of rug possession and paraphernalia charges. He has been accused by a former employee of trying to cover up Talon Renner's alleged involvement in the Lord's killings. There's a lady that come forward. I think she's actually at the end of this. They put her at the end of this, but we watched her in another live. She comes forward and she says that they were hiding Talon out in their home that was 3.5 hours away because they wanted his hands to get better because his hands were so beat up, I guess, from the attack. That's what they were saying. So we'll see. Taylor Sherman is going to be the next one, and he's 19 and he was booked into the jail on March 6th. He appeared before a judge the next day. Prosecutors at his initial court appearance said Sherman attempted to destroy evidence after Lord's attack and planned a potential story about what happened that night. Dominic Turner, 20, he was taken into custody on March 6th and appeared before a Maricopa County Superior Court judge the next day. He is accused of robbery in connection with Lord's attack. Talon Vigil, he made incriminating statements about his involvement in Lord's death, according to an interview and a social media post. His former girlfriend told police that just minutes after the fatal beating, he climbed into a car and bragged, "I knocked that kid out." The girl's mother recounted the moment to the Republic in a December interview. Carly Heimiller said her daughter was interviewed by detectives who later had her walk them through the crime scene. Days after Lord's death, Vigil appeared to make a confession on Snapchat, a screenshot of the post that circulated widely on social media. "I hit a kid, and this kid, Phil, hit his head, and then he kicked his head in the ground, and then I got word he died, so I don't know." Maybe they could fix that broken English while they're in there. They couldn't. It says the Republic could not verify the authenticity of that post. The teenager and his parents have not responded to multiple interview requests about it. We'll bring it back over this way. I'm going to grab my drink. Yeah, I feel like these parents need to be if your kid is under the age, then I feel like these parents need to be held accountable. I don't know. But we can go over this part tomorrow. It's just, it says that, that they did that. Actually, maybe we'll just read that in a minute. It says, "Are Preston Lord's attackers facing the death penalty? Meisner, Renner, and Vigil face a maximum of life in prison because juveniles in Arizona cannot be sentenced to death. Prosecutors could seek the death penalty against Billy, Hines, Sherman, and Turner." Mitchell said the decision would ultimately be hers to make, but it would come after a rigid, long-standing procedure of review and recommendation by a senior team of attorneys in her office. Well, yeah, I mean, if you're going to be, putting juveniles to death, I mean, well, pretty much, juveniles, I feel like when they're 18, they're still kind of a juvenile. Well, we don't really need to know that. I mean, we already know that. And that's because they kept him. So I think that was all I wanted to show you guys. And then this is the lady that said that Talon, we'll play this really quick. This is a former employee. She says that Talon's parents or Talon's dad, drove him up to stay in their vacation home so that he wouldn't get in any trouble. Like, so his hands could heal. Like, I mean, I guess parent does, but I mean, really, who does this?
So you became aware of the incidents.
And this is his employee, the dad's employee. She's like, I don't want nothing to do with that.
Preston,
Yes, sir.
explain what happened.
I was working as the senior executive assistant for Relentless Media Agency, Relentless CEO, Move Martial Arts, and MX Martial Arts. I was the executive assistant for all 4 of those companies, even processing payroll for all 4 of those companies. Shortly after Halloween, I came to the office and was approached by Adam, who brought me into the conference room and presented me with an NDA. He asked me to sign it. He didn't give me much time to review it, and kind of laughed it off. He told me that Travis's son had been involved in an incident at that time, not knowing that Preston had passed away at that moment. He explained that was involved, and Travis was currently taking to the cabin because he had some injuries on his hand. He just said, review the NDA, no big deal. I just need it. It's only case specific. It has nothing to do with the other companies. Please sign. I'll give you a copy afterwards. So I did. I signed it because I could not afford to lose my job at that time.
What was your understanding of how they reacted to it? What did they do?
Immediately said they were not talking. They lawyered up and they were going to cover this up. They made sure to get a lawyer. Adam was told that Travis is more than likely going to have to file bankruptcy because of this case. It's going to break him. And because those two are so tightly wound financially, they are in business together in 4 different entities, that Adam was going to need to seek an attorney and a bankruptcy attorney to possibly buy Travis's shares to kind of separate ties between them. And that was what I was told. However, it continued that Adam told me he never had any intention of completely losing Travis as a business partner. He can't financially afford to lose Travis, and he was just going to let the dust settle, words verbatim. He was going to let the dust settle and let Travis back in.
Did they talk to you about the killing of Preston, or did they talk in front of you? What was the conversation?
It was both. I was talked to about the case, and I was around when the case was talked about. The common theme about it was involved. He hurt his hand because he punched Preston initially, possibly causing cuts and abrasions. And that is when they took town. I found calendar evidence that corroborating this, that all of a sudden Travis was gone. At that time, I was being told by Adam that's where they were at, the cabin, letting hand heal. And I'm
pretty sure we watched this the first time they were saying his name. They were saying Talon. Now it's very weird they're not doing it now, but
weeks go by and I was always pulled aside to give an update on the case. Go back to school, I pretend like everything's fine. They would update me, on their case proceedings. They would tell me that only expected to get 9 to 10 months out of this. That's what his attorney is saying, that they have no plans on talking. They're just going to cover it up and then everything will be good.
So there was never any conversation about turning.
Is this guy losing his voice or what?
Never. Adamantly no. They refused. They talked about how they would never do such a thing. They weren't talking. They said they had plenty of money. They would be able to get away with this, essentially.
So if they had
moved all my,
I don't get it. So if they had too much money, she said that they was going to bankrupt them, but then she's saying that they had too much money. I don't know. You never know, though. It could be just a person that could be saying something bad for the family. But I do know this family was trying to hide their kid, though. They definitely were. Now, for some reason, with this one, I forgot. Normally, when Nancy does a podcast, she'll do a video version of it, but this one she didn't, which is surprising. So we're going to play the podcast version. I'm going to download some pictures. That way, I have like an overlay to put over. And they're going to talk about some more of the updates in the case as well. There was actually one update that I wanted to tell you guys about. I don't know. I'm sure we'll hear it. Okay. I'm going to put some overlays over. That way you guys can have something to look at, as you guys are watching this. I'm just going to put this one up, this Preston Lord one up for now. That way I can download a couple. But thank you guys for being here. I do appreciate it. We are going to watch Nancy Grace. She's going to be better at explaining this than me. And then tomorrow we will start searching through the documents and stuff like that over his case.
All the summertime vibes.
Sorry, it's not loud.
Does the name Preston Lord ring a bell? Well, it's a name I will never forget. This handsome young boy, Preston Lord, just 16, was beaten dead at a Halloween party. As it turns out, a group of teens terrorizing a sleepy little Arizona town called Gilbert Goons seemingly were behind the attack on this young boy. Well, in the last days, a bombshell development in the case. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. Thank you for being with us. In the last days, a so-called Gilbert Goons suspect, Jacob Pennington, arrested again just hours after he was sentenced to just 3 years probation for assault linked.
What was his name again? I meant to grab that. At least, what name did she say?
A so-called Gilbert, the attack on this young boy. Well, in the last days, a bombshell development in the case. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. Thank you for being with us. In the last days, a so-called Gilbert Goons suspect, Jacob Pennington, arrested again just hours after he was sentenced to just.
I didn't get that name again. You son of a gun. I swear, if I don't get it this time, someone's screaming in the chat.
Crime Stories. Thank you for being with us. In the last days, a so-called Gilbert Goons suspect, Jacob Pennington, arrested again just hours after he was sentenced to just 3 years probation for assault linked to the gang terrorizing the little town, including the Phoenix suburbs. That's right, a suspected member of the Gilbert Goons gang arrested again just after being sentenced to straight probation, which is a crime in itself. Jacob Pennington, 20, arrested on suspicion of underage drinking the very same day he gets straight probation. The reign of terror these teens have enjoyed has gone on for 2 years at least. It includes armed robberies, dozens of assaults at parties and in parking lots, several of those assaults with brass knuckles, and it all culminated in the deadly beating of teen boy Preston Lord. What happened the night of that fateful party? A group of teens getting together at a Halloween party. How could it go so wrong?
911 emergency.
Hey, I'm at a party. And
what's going on? Take a deep breath.
There's a bunch of people out here with guns and just jumped my friend, and he's knocked out on the ground.
Okay.
He's been unconscious for like 2 minutes. We need people over here.
Okay, I'm getting them started. Okay, don't hang up. Just stay on the line with me.
Thank you so much.
You are hearing the 911 call from the night this young boy was beaten and kicked brutally until he dies. We've got an all-star panel, but first I want to go out to veteran criminal defense attorney, high-profile lawyer in inner-city Atlanta, Raymond Giudice at rayglaw.com. Ray, as you know, you as a defense attorney, me as a prosecutor, the first thing I would like to do when I struck a jury is play the 911 call, because witnesses can tell their version on the stand, but there's nothing like what happened at the moment. Agree, disagree?
Totally agree. It's how you're going to open up your opening statement to a jury. It also sets your timeline for the events that will occur both at the scene and post investigation.
Well, you're right. And the first thing you want to do is set up the timeline. Speaking of the 911 call in front of a jury, I would play it straight out all the way through. Now listen to more of that 911 call. Listen.
Do you know the people that did this? Are they still there or have they left?
I don't know if they left or they're still here. I got out of there as quick as possible, so I didn't get hurt. I don't know the people that are here. We don't have any beef with them or anything.
Do you know, did you see the people that assaulted them? Did you see them well enough to get any description, or did you not see it actually happen?
They all had ski masks on, and it was...
How many was it?
A lot.
Like 4 or 5 or more?
Like 15.
Okay.
This is every parent's worst nightmare. Group or gang mentality. The first case I ever had like this, at that time we called it wilding. When young people or people in general do things as part of a pack that they would never do on their own. Take a listen to more of that 911 call.
He's not waking up. No, I know. I'm on the phone with 911. I know. He's fine. We're getting him. He has a pulse. He just got a pulse. Here, take your stuff. Take all the stuff. Oh my. Please. Are you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay.
Did he say your friend has a pulse now?
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
Oh my God, dude. I'm so dead. Okay, dude.
They're here?
Yeah, they're here.
You can hear the police arriving in the background, and you hear the callers and the teens gathered around what would soon be a dead body saying, "I am so dead." They're worried about themselves being in trouble. And it's amazing to me. I'm about to go to Alexis Tereszchuk, crimeonline.com investigative reporter. It's amazing to me that within hours, literally hours of this teen boy, just 16 years old, and you know, Alexis, this is the age of my John David and Lucy, within hours of him being pronounced dead, people were already trying to get money. Listen to Nicole Parton, Crime Online.
As Preston Lord lays unconscious on the pavement, friends determine his heart has stopped. Other partygoers perform CPR until police arrive and take over. Lord is taken by ambulance to Chandler Regional Hospital, then transferred to Phoenix Children's in extremely critical condition with a severe brain injury. Preston Lord succumbs to his injuries. For those involved, Lord's death is fodder for social media, some trying to figure out how to cash in on the reward money offered for information about what happened. The suspects discussed the fight over Snapchat, with one of the messages reading, "My mom wants in on the $10,000. These messages are some of the first real clues police begin to follow.
I don't understand, Alexis Tereszchuk. Within hours after this boy is pronounced dead, people are trying to get thousands of dollars. How is that?
So the police offered a reward, a $10,000 reward for any information about this case, because as the kids said on the 911 call, they were in a mask. So at first people were thinking, oh, we don't know the identity of who these people are that beat this little boy to death because they had masks on. So there was a $10,000 reward offered for information leading to an arrest. However, these kids that are all talking are the ones that were involved in the beating. And they're so callous, they're saying, oh, my mom wants in on the money, because they were involved in it. So if the mom turns in another kid, they'll get the money. But all of these kids were involved, and they were on top of him, punching him, hitting him. In fact, so he goes knocked to the ground, and these guys were on top of him, dry humping him. So simulating like sex or raping this body that was on the ground now, which all these other kids, there were hundreds of kids at this party, were watching this happen. They're desperately calling 911. They're trying to get it stopped. They're scared because they'd seen guns. And it started because apparently one of the guys grabbed a gold necklace off a girl there, just ripped it off her and stole it. So Preston tried to get it back. He wasn't fighting with these guys. He wasn't saying bad things to them. He just tried to get his friend's necklace back, like being a stand-up gentleman for his friend. And that's when they unleashed on him.
Guys, the day Preston Lord, this teen boy, dies, apparently another kid, a rich brat with a silver spoon in his mouth, dad, his multimillionaire dad, Travis Renner, goes to work, according to sources, and I'd love to hear from Mr. Renner if he would join us, trying to cover up his son's involvement. Take a listen to Crime Online's Dave Mack.
The day Preston Lord passes away, Talon Renner's millionaire father, Travis Renner, goes to work trying to cover up the teen's involvement. Renner and his business partner allegedly hand out NDAs and push a story that despite Talon Renner having thrown the first punch, Talon Vigil was truly to blame for Lord's death. Renner tells the school his son is being bullied and whisks Talon away to his $800,000 golf club cabin in Show Low, Arizona, for a week while Talon's hands heal from the fight. Meanwhile, Talon Renner brags to friends on Snapchat, "I got in a fight, a big group fight, and I accidentally killed a kid. I guess I'm just too strong."
Joining me right now, board-certified forensic pathologist, former medical examiner in Vegas, never lack of business there, Dr. Jan Gorniak. Dr. Gorniak, I'm going to circle back to you about the injury sustained by the boy, the dead boy. But what do you believe they're talking about after seeing so many dead bodies in the morgue when we say that we have been informed the father kept his son away for about a week till his, quote, injuries healed? What are they talking about?
So obviously when you have any blunt injuries, that means your body hit something or something hit your body. So in this case of this young thug, he actually has injuries on his hands because his hands hit something, unfortunately, this young man's head. So he's going to have contusions or bruises on his hands. So it's going to probably take, depending if he has any other cuts on his hand, it's going to take some time for them to heal.
And Dr. Gorniak, you have studied the case. What can you tell us about the victim's injuries? I understand he was beaten and kicked dead. He laid there on the ground while all of these, I guess, frenemies beat him dead. But what is the actual cause of death in a case like this?
In a case like this, it sounds like his injuries are blunt force injuries of the head. He got hit so hard with, obviously, fists. I'm not sure when they're beating him while he's down. Does that mean also any kicks? I'm not sure. But he has extensive head trauma. So therefore, he also has some bleeding within his brain. So blood on your brain causes some swelling of your brain, and which is incompatible with life. And we heard that he was unconscious at the scene, right after the injuries occurred. So it sounds like he was hit so hard, plus his head probably hit concrete. So that in combination really caused some devastating injuries.
Tired of routine and enjoy
To life, liberty, and the pursuit of unique academic, personal, and professional.
Changing things up. Hands-free and
Goons Gang.
Find yours in. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Crime Stories with Nancy Grace. The Gilbert Goons Gang suspect, Jacob Pennington, arrested again. And this is just hours after he gets straight probation for an assault linked to the gang that terrorizes a sleepy little Arizona town, the suburbs. Now, remember, he was not charged in relation to Preston's death. The gang is suspected in Preston's death. This month alone, Pennington shows up in court on 2 different occasions for 2 different alleged crimes. One on June 10 for an assault. 3 days later, he shows up in court June 13, and that's when he's sentenced to 3 years probation for an assault. Then later that day, he's busted again for underage drinking. He was in a car that was pulled over for a traffic violation, 10:45 p.m. After this last arrest, Maricopa County Attorney's Office files a petition to revoke his probation sentence. Finally, he's going to jail. Is this really happening? But what about Preston Lord? Ray Giudice, I'd like you to address this. It's reminding me a little bit. I know that you followed very closely the case of high-profile lawyer out of South Carolina, Alex Murdaugh. He was ultimately convicted in the double murder of his wife, Maggie, and son, Paul. Immediately, he tried to change the narrative. What does that mean? That's the now talk of getting someone to change their story. Because right at the get-go, we've been told, and again, I welcome the multimillionaire dad to come on and clear all this up, but apparently Renner's millionaire dad, Tristan Renner, goes to work trying to cover up his son's alleged involvement. Renner and his business partner, go ahead and rope in your buddy in this, allegedly hand out NDAs, that's a non-disclosure agreement, and push a story that the son, the millionaire son, Talon Renner, having thrown the first punch, that the victim is truly to blame. Okay, I don't understand that. Now claiming that his millionaire son has been bullied. When it's just, that's completely bass-ackwards. I mean, can't you go to jail for witness tampering, Ray?
Well, Phoenix, Arizona is a big town, Nancy, but they're going to have to import lawyers from all over the country for all the extra defendants, including parents and business associations, potentially for the quote-unquote changing the narrative / cover-up. But what you're clearly trying to set up is a self-defense accident case, that perhaps a fight broke out between 2 young men over a disagreement, and the young man fell, and as the doctor said, hit his head on the back of the head on the concrete, and my son may have struck him, but there's a causation issue as to
the ages of the kids are like 16, 17 to 20. One's 20, but the rest of them are real young. Yeah, man, too young.
which
Thank you, Kaylee, for gifting a membership. That's so nice. Thank you.
blows caused the fatality. Again, shaping the narrative, shaping their opening statement for trial. But again, there's going to be a lot. This is the Lawyer Employment Act of 2024 for Metro Phoenix.
The Lawyer Employment Act of 2024. Hold on. Is that Gorniak?
Yes, it is.
Gorniak, Dr. Gorniak, hold on before I lose my train of thought here.
No worries.
Because I'm scared right now. Did you hear what Raymond Giudice just said? And he completely said it with a straight face. Okay, this kid was beaten. He was down on the ground, still being beaten, still being punched until he dies. He dies. Why am I angry? Because
And then they they took pictures of him after he was down. They didn't just run away from him. They took pictures with him. I think one of them was even dancing on top of him at one point. I mean, it gets pretty graphic in this case. I don't know if Nancy will go over that part, but yeah, it really does.
my son and my daughter are the same age as this boy. They go to parties, and you heard Giudice just spin it.
Yeah, but they ain't got Nancy. Yeah, but most kids don't have Nancy Grace for a mom. If I walked into a party and they said Nancy Grace's kid's here, I'd be like, see ya. I'd walk back out of that party. I'm like, Nancy Grace, come find us.
He's spinning it. You don't like what he says? I don't. But that's what's going to happen in court. And district attorney, you darn well better be ready. Did you hear what he says? Changing the narrative. What does that mean? Lying. That's what changing the narrative means. That now the victim fell. The victim did not fall. He was punched. And we know, according to witnesses, who threw the first punch. He fell, and now we're going to have a causation issue. My rear end. Gornier, you started this, all right? Now, Giudice picked it up and ran with it. Then he fell and just died. He fell and died. You know, I've fallen a lot, running, chasing the children, being a cheerleader, this, that. I never just died because I fell, but this is the spin out. This is a new recitation. History is being rewritten by Gorniak, and you know, Gorniak, I always agree with you, and Giudice. That's what's going to happen at trial, Ray. That's what's going to happen at trial. What you just did.
A tipster notifies police that Talon Renner admitted to a friend that he threw the first punch. Owen Hines told a friend he only kicked him in the stomach. Nearly all the witnesses point out Preston Billy and Dominic Turner as aggressors due to their distinct costumes that night. Turner wore all black while Billy donned a white suit. Using the suspect's digital media, investigators find Taylor Sherman, who admits to taking a video of Preston as he is unconscious on the ground and sending it out on Snapchat. Talon Vigil also sent a message reading, "I hit a kid and this kid fell, hit his head. Then they kicked his head in the ground. Then I got word he died, so IDK."
You were hearing Sydney Sumner from crimeonline.com. And what stands out to me is that a tipster notifies police that the millionaire juvenile, Talon Renner, admits he throws the first punch. And then it's a free-for-all, with this little boy being kicked and beaten dead. 7 young men, including the high school football star Talon Renner, age 17, which is important. Why is he in juvenile court? Have been charged in the brutal murder of teen boy Preston Lord. We are also learning that group violence by teens in the Phoenix area is growing. And now there's a huge wave of public, of citizens demanding justice, that there is not two-tier justice, one for the rich man and one for the poor man. But that's what it seems to be shaping up as after local law enforcement give Talon Renner's parents special valet parking for their Tesla at the courthouse. Then they had to backtrack and apologize. Ouch, that's embarrassing. But right now, instead of discussing the dad's Tesla, let me bring back in Dr. Jan Gorniak, a renowned medical examiner and high-profile lawyer in the Atlanta jurisdiction, Raymond Giudice. Dr. Gorniak, you were clarifying your analysis. What were you saying?
Well, listening to Mr. Raymond about possibly saying that it was the fall and not the punch that caused his death. In our forensic world, we use the but for the punch, he wouldn't have fallen and hit his head. I've had cases where someone swung and missed and fell and ended up dying, and that's still ruled a homicide. So I understand what the defense might come in and try to say, but from where I sit, that's still a homicide. Just because, but for a punch, he wouldn't have just fallen and hit his head. It wasn't like he tripped and fell down the stairs. Something contacted his head to cause him to fall. So that's why no matter what they come in and say, this would still be ruled a homicide from the medical examiner's standpoint.
Okay, you're right, Dr. Gorniak, but somebody like Raymond Giudice is going to take that thread and run with it till your whole sweater is nothing but a pile of yarn. All right? It's going to be all over. It's like a pack of cats tore it up. Because you're absolutely correct. This boy would not be on the ground dying if that first punch had not been thrown. There's your but for. He's going to argue at trial, yeah, he threw the first punch, but he didn't kill him. Well, this is what I would say as a prosecutor. They're all going in the same pot to stew. Nobody's getting a plea. Everybody is going to trial for murder, because I want you, jury, to think what it would be like lying on the floor, the ground, the pavement, looking up at all these faces in Halloween masks. This bizarre scenario when you're taking a blow to the head, a kick to the kidney, so vicious, you end up dying. And the last thing you see is this gang of animals over you, dressed in these Halloween outfits, kicking and beating you dead. Oh, hell no. Nobody is getting a plea. All right. Go ahead, Ray.
Well, I agree with the doctor. She's an expert, but the argument that I made, which I believe we will have expert testimony to, will at least allow, number one, a lesser included charge of involuntary manslaughter to a jury. Okay, that's number one. And you know how critical that is. It allows the jury to find for a lesser included charge. It allows the defense to argue that in closing. And I'll bet you dimes to dollars, Nancy, one of these young men's going to take a plea. And now you know how it works.
They're not taking a plea unless I offer a plea. You can't take a plea that hasn't been offered.
They'll take a plea. You wait and see.
What Nancy said, I didn't offer him a plea. Like,
someone's going to offer it. Now, I know you might not offer it. And I agree I understand how you would play it, but I guarantee you, close to trial, somebody's going to roll. Someone's going to come up and be a state's witness so they can get that murder conviction that you want.
Preston Lord died a horrible death, a deadly beating at a teen Halloween party. In the last days, an alleged member of the so-called Gilbert Goons gang arrested again, just after getting a straight probation sentence on another incident. He has never been named as the killer in Preston Lord's case. I would not be happy with just one. And I don't want the rich kid to be the scapegoat. They're all part of this. And you know what's so great about it? They were taking videos. These jackasses, technical legal phrase, they're taking videos, bringing in Julie Lewis, digital forensic expert, president, CEO of Digital Mountain Inc. Julie, if anything can make me happy about this scenario, it's the advent of a cell phone. They're all taking videos. And how do you think a jury is going to react to a gang attack on a single victim already down, unarmed? Not good.
Not good. Those smartphones have a ton of digital evidence. In this case, they're using Snapchat as their messaging app for pictures and messages. And there's a lot of other things like Instagram, social media online that can be looked at. We do that all the time. We do open source intelligence investigations. With kids, they have no filter. These messages also, you have to get them quickly because a lot of these are ephemeral applications like Snapchat. If you do a snap, it'll disappear by default immediately unless the user changes it to holding a message for 24 hours or not at all.
Julie.
Yes.
That was my next question. Because all the time my twins are going, wow, I got so-and-so Snapchat. I'm like, show me. They go, it's gone. I don't know if they're just telling me that.
Yeah.
Or if it really is gone. Can they retrieve a Snapchat? Can it be retrieved by LA law enforcement?
So law enforcement has access to be able to see more on the phones than we can on the commercial side. It's called a physical image. And in that, they may be those databases could be decrypted.
Okay, you've already lost me. Is that a yes or a no?
Yeah. It depends.
You're saying yes, I can retrieve a Snapchat?
I'm going to give you a lawyer answer. It depends.
Listen, I'm a lawyer. I can try a murder case. Doing what you're doing, they didn't teach me that in criminal law. So I just need a black and white. Is there a chance I can get those snaps back?
It's possible. So it's similar to having a camera in your office that's randomly taking screenshots. There are parts of the phone that store things in something called memory. And so it depends.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to have to work with you, as I've told many a witness, because you're not helping me right now. All right? I got to narrow this thing down and get an answer that when I say a jury will understand, I mean that I will understand. And quick question, Alexis Tereshchuk, and I want Julie Lewis to hear this. It's not just the snaps, Alexis. These jackasses bragged. They sent texts back and forth. There are not just snaps, which can disappear, but there are texts.
Yes. Text messages where the kids are saying, I hit the kid, he hit his head. The other kids jumped on the ground. I think he died. Another one, Talon Renner says, I got in a fight with a kid. I hit him. I think he died. I didn't even know my own strength. Another kid writes, bro, that kid died. They know it. And they're saying, also, one of them said, do not delete the video because you can use that and you can get $10,000. This is the $10,000 the FBI announced as a reward. They said, you can use that and you can get the money. So they're all admitting they knew that there was video of this murder.
Bragging? Did I just hear Alexis Tereszcuk say bragging and deleting evidence?
Yeah, the mom wanted the $10,000 herself.
Did I hear that? Was somebody bragging, and did someone ask for everyone to delete or not delete evidence?
They were bragging to each other. They were messaging each other, not just pictures on Snapchat, messaging each other. And then another kid wrote to the kid that had the video, who had taken video at the fight, and said, dude, don't delete that video because you can get $10,000 because the police had offered a reward for it. So they're saying your video could be given as evidence and then you could not win, but you can get the reward money. So they're clearly stating there is video of the murder and that they should not delete it because it can be used to help them get money. No, this is going to help our friend go to jail. This is going to take the bad guys out, but you're going to get money. You're going to cash in on this.
You know what? The jury is going to have a bad taste in their mouth about all of these guys. That is why defendants very often will seek a severance. In other words, they want to be tried separately from each other. But if it's not a death penalty case and there are no interlocking statements where one defendant blames the other defendant, if the state doesn't use those, these guys are going to be tried together. Why is that significant? Because let's just pretend Alexis and I rob a bank and I blame Alexis because, of course, it's going to be her fault. If we're tried together, she won't be able to cross-examine me on me blaming her because I'm certainly not going to take the stand. No way. That denies her, under the Sixth Amendment, of her right to confront the state's witnesses. Even though I'm a defendant in a bank robbery, I'm still a state's witness. So if the state chooses not to use those interlocking confessions, then they can be tried together. And what I advise to the state, not that they care what I think, but don't use the statements. You don't need them. You've got video, people. Try them all together. Again, stew in the same pot. I want to address to Julie Lewis, digital forensics expert, CEO of Digital Mountain. What about what Alexis just told us, that a lot of these communications were not a picture, which is normally what Snapchat is, but a written message? How about those? Please give me a yes, no. Do not go into digital land. Just tell me, can I get those messages back?
Okay, I won't.
Oh, here she goes. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to educate a little bit. So snaps can be snaps, video, and pictures, and then there's chats, which are also on Snapchat. And Snapchat is meant to delete things fairly quickly. So snaps are usually immediately followed, and the chats are within 24 hours. But don't forget about the native message on the phone as well. So there's all these different messaging apps that teenagers use, and you got to look at them all because there could be more evidence there in the photos and pictures and all sorts of stuff that are your treasure trove.
What is a native message?
That's what's the messaging app on the phone that comes pre-installed. That's not a third-party app.
Okay, so you mean like it's not Snap. So the phone itself may contain evidence. Okay, let's see our defense attorney expert, Raymond Giudice. So, you know, all that stuff you were saying, let me get in my notes. I think I threw them away. All your theory about, he just fell and just died because he fell. And what did you say? I've got to find, there's going to be a, quote, causation issue. A causation issue. Translation, the defense is going to claim that the beating inflicted by these 7 people is not why the guy died. this little boy died because he fell. All right, that's where he's going. But what about the videos? What about the text messages? What about the messages via Snap? And as Julie said, the messages native to the phone that don't just disappear on a third-party app. You think you might be in a little hot water now?
It's the timeline. You're going to start with those 911 recordings, and you're going to move, as our technical expert just stated, all of these emails and text messages and photos will have a timestamp, and a good prosecutor is going to surgically, one after another, set out the time frame. Quite frankly, the prosecution team's biggest problem may be having too many texts and statements coming from who knows who. But again, sometimes, Nancy, when there's not a severance and you've got 7 co-defendants with high-priced legal counsel, confusion, I hate to use it, but that's part of the defense strategy. It wasn't me who punched him that caused the death, causation. It's co-defendant Johnson who kicked him in the stomach that caused the death. And that's what you're going to see at trial. One quick thing. I think they're all going to be treated as adults and tried in, as you call it, big boy court. However, the option of taking a defendant, a co-defendant, and treating him as a juvenile is a very enticing situation for a plea bargain. Keep that in mind.
That's interesting because I've never been enticed ever to allow a killer to plead out in juvie.
I know that.
I'm not happy about the situation, but I did try a 13-year-old for murder in adult court. Did I like it? No. Was it my duty? Yes. Did he get convicted? Yes, because he jumped into a pawn shop, stole a handful of dope ropes, gold chain, shot 3 people, killing 1, and leaving the other one in a wheelchair and a colostomy bag for the rest of his life. Hell no, he's not being treated as a juvenile. That said, I've never heard of too much evidence for the state, but thank you for floating another defense theory.
You step into that brand new
unalien environments are designed to help you
to traditional tobacco, bag, pocket, and
it's called one of America's best places to raise children. But the brutal, deadly beating of a 16-year-old boy, Preston Lord, highlights a disturbing issue. Teen violence in Arizona suburbs. These kids have been given everything, fed with a silver spoon. And this is what happens? This perp, 20-year-old Jacob Pennington, confessed to police he was part of the Gilbert Goons, claiming the name originated from a Snapchat group. Now, this is according to police documents. The group has been officially designated as a gang. What took so long? Now, the police chief explains the Gilbert Goons are a, quote, hybrid gang because they rely on social media. And there is no real code of conduct that you find in a lot of gangs. But I do know this. The Gilbert Goons have been involved in at least 95 assaults in 18 separate attacks, most in Gilbert. Now, that's what I learned according to the Arizona Republic. Gilbert, Arizona, it's a very wealthy Phoenix suburb, and it was once touted as the second safest city in the whole country, but it's been all over the news because of these teen delinquents allegedly terrorizing the community as far back as 2022. Videos of teen attacks and claims made by victims about this gang's reign of terror now in the hands of police. The woman who made the initial 911 call trying to get help for the teen boy victim. Listen to her 911 call.
Can we please get an officer at the corner of 197th Place and Viaduct Thomas? There has got to be at least 250 kids here. They're walking the streets. We're not used to this. I'm not used to this in my neighborhood from being here 25 years. There's too many cars. These kids are going to hit each other. Someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to get killed.
Gina Pignatello, the neighbor who called 911. Gina, tell me what happened.
We live at the entrance of the subdivision, and there were dozens upon dozens of cars parked back to back, every side of the street, coming in and out of the subdivision, teenagers, large groups of teenagers walking everywhere. In a normally quiet neighborhood, it was kind of shocking to walk out and see this kind of mass crowd forming and coming in and out of the subdivision. So my husband and I immediately said, we might want to call the police. And as soon as we're saying that, we see the police actually come into the subdivision. Within another 5 to 10 minutes, we watched the police circle the block and leave. And you immediately started teens just continued to fill the neighborhood. You could clearly see students or children walking with bottles, cans, appeared to be intoxicated. Some were yelling, and then we started to see accidents.
Yelling what, Gina?
They were yelling things like, "Oh, don't get drunk, kids," just appearing intoxicated and holding what looked like hands up in the air. So you could see this was starting to get rowdy as in the streets. And then within a few minutes of that, we started seeing accidents. So now they're jam-packed in this neighborhood. Some are trying to get in and out of the subdivision. You can't even turn off the main road, and they start rear-ending one another. They might hop out quickly, look, and then they're driving away from these accidents. We hear another accident down the road, and then within seconds, we start seeing groups of teens jumping over our back fence. So coming out of our backyard, jumping into our front yard, running into cars. And I said, this is getting out of control. We've got to call 911. And we need the police back here. And that's when I made my call. And when I made that call, I didn't know at the same time the attack on Preston and the other young boys was taking place at that same exact time.
With me is Gina Pignatello, who is speaking out. A boy is dead. Instead of graduating from high school and going on all these college tours, it's over for him. And it's not just him that's gone. His parents' hopes, their dreams, all their energy, all their love, all their money into their boy, Preston Lord. When did you learn, Gina Pignatello, that a boy had been essentially stomped dead in your neighborhood?
Yeah, my neighbors and I actually didn't learn the details until Monday. So this occurred Saturday evening. And we didn't learn the details until Monday. We began kind of neighbors sharing text and the GoFundMe. Oh my goodness, this poor young man is fighting for his life. And then within a few hours, we learned that he had died. We could have never, imagined.
The parents were it was their Super Bowl. Their son was coming into his own. All those years of love and nurturing, and now this. When you learned about what happened, Gina, what were you told? Did everybody know who did it?
Pretty immediately. I like to call them the kind of parents of the East Valley, began sharing and setting up. We've heard these names. We've seen these Snapchat messages. Groups started forming because we were getting no answers. But I can tell you within those first few days, that first week, the names we saw that were arrested were the same names we saw within those first few days. We heard about the families, like the Renners, taking their son to hide him up in the mountains to hide injuries. These parents that began gathering all this information, much of what was in the police report, we were learning and we're getting videos within that first week of this incident happening.
Joining me now, esteemed forensic psychologist, Dr. Sherry Schwartz. She specializes in capital mitigation and victim advocacy. You can find her at panthermitigation.com. And she's the author. She literally wrote the book on criminal behavior and another book, Where Law and Psychology Intersect. Dr. Sherry Schwartz, thank you for being with us. I was saying at the beginning, Dr. Sherry, and I'm sure you can say it much more eloquently than I can, people do things in a group they wouldn't normally do on their own. Do I care? No. I care that this boy is dead and the millionaire defendant's father has been hiding him out in $1 million golf cabin. There's such a thing as flight after a crime where you hide from law enforcement. That never looks good. I want to talk to you about the group mentality here and whether it actually relieves anyone of responsibility.
Well, I work also, Nancy, on a lot of juvenile direct file cases. When I say direct file, basically what I mean is they're charged as an adult. And in my experience, no, it doesn't absolve them of legal responsibility. I think people can argue it doesn't absolve them of moral responsibility. I expect that some super lawyers like Ray Giudice will come forth with arguments about juvenile brain and how their brain isn't fully developed, and this can account for some of the behavior. And there's group dynamics at work as well, such as mob mentality. There's always at least one or two leaders. The larger the group, the less informed the fringe members are, but they go along, they conform with the behavior. But still, at the end of the day, under the legal system, in my experience, this doesn't really much matter. They're going to be held accountable just the same as the person that.
They always do that. She just cut us right on off. That's how she always rolls. I was wondering why I even went that far, actually, because I think that she was going to go into the previous. She was going into the previous episode. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do first. There we go. I'm like, what do I want to do first? So let me get this little banner down here. I'm going to put up myself. So I get all this stuff off. Okay. There we go. But that's all I have for you guys for tonight. I'm going to look through more of the documents tomorrow, and we'll go over those tomorrow night on the live. If anything happens in any of our other cases, I'll pop in and I'll give you an update. I did put episode 2, season 2 of the podcast for the Idaho 4 massacre on the in my pre-recorded video, so it's there if you want to watch it. And then I'll put out part 3 tomorrow sometime. And then I think there's 4 parts so far, so maybe I could do part 4 on Sunday. That way, like during the day, that way you guys have something to watch if you don't have anything else to watch. But I think that's all I have for you guys. I hope you guys have a great day. I know she does that, Tammy, abrupt stops. She does that sometimes. I think it's when she does like updates, it's kind of seeming like maybe. Let me see. Yeah. I'll just read this. Yeah. Okay. Let me see. Okay. Well, that's all I've got for you. I was just checking the chat, see if there's anything I needed to read or, go over. But yeah, I'm going to go hang out with old Vincent, see how he's doing. I got the dog over here. She's been sleeping this whole time. Looking cute. As soon as the music comes on and I stand up, she'll wake up. She'll be ready to go. But thank you guys for being here tonight. I do appreciate it. I wanted to get everybody just like back into the groove of knowing who Preston Lord was, knowing what happened to Preston Lord. The hearings, I'm not sure when the next one is, but I'll look into that and I'll let you guys know tomorrow, because that's a good question to have, and that's a question I have, and I just pops into my head. So I will look that up. And then we also have Sarah Boone's letters we can go over if you'd like to. Just let me know in the comments below what cases you want to see on the channel, and we'll bring them to you. There's no updates in the Sebastian Rogers case. If that's a case that you're interested in, go ahead and put it in the comment section. And if you want, we can all just get on here and talk about what we know about Sebastian, because there's nothing new. I don't know. But thank you guys all for being here tonight. I do appreciate you. I'll see you guys tomorrow on tomorrow night's live, and I might come on maybe tomorrow during the day. You never know. So have a good evening, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye, guys.